Vice President Kamala Harris is yet to be officially nominated as the Democrat presidential candidate, but she has won endorsements from a majority of Democratic Party's pledged delegates, thus cementing her position as the frontrunner and further discouraging any potential challengers. Not just that, 3 high-quality new polls now show Harris running essentially even with Trump, signaling that the dynamics of the presidential race could be now shifting. A report also suggests a memo that has gone out now from Trump's campaign, which has recognized that Vice President Kamala Harris has energized the Democratic campaign. So can Kamala Harris take on Donald Trump? Well, to discuss this, we have with us Ambassador Manju Seth, former Indian diplomat. We also have Nirmal Abraham, columnist and political analyst, Pramit Pal Chaudhary, a well-known speaker, and of course my colleague Justin Thomas here in the studio. Pramit, if I can come to you first, how do you see the shift in the narrative really in the US presidential race? It almost seemed that Democrats had almost given up. There was a lot of pressure, of course, building on Biden to step down, which he did on Sunday. But is the race becoming much more tighter and interesting with Kamala Harris? Perhaps formality left in August. In the Democratic convention, there will be an announcement.
Yeah, I think her likelihood of becoming the Democratic candidate is now almost certain. As you mentioned, the majority of the convention delegates have already pledged their support to her. And it seems reasonably clear if you look at a long number of the people who were expected or who could have potentially have gone against her or fought with her, Gretchen Whitmer, Gavin Newsom, and so on, all of them have declared their support for her. So I think there's a very clear move by the Democratic Party, consolidate, put a rally behind her. There's no point, make sure the convention does not become a battleground, as for example, the 1968 Democratic Convention was, that destroyed the Hubert H. Humphrey presidential candidacy and led to Nixon's victory. So I think that's reasonably clear. The race now, the problem right now we're seeing, and we still have, remember, a fairly long time to go before the elections, yes, 4 months, is that we've seen the candidates go up and down. So, for example, on really the news cycle more than anything else. So we saw Trump go down in the numbers when he was being convicted and being tried and convicted in court for felony charges. We saw Biden then fall because of obviously the presidential debate and subsequent interviews where he fumbled. Then we saw Trump soar in the polls because of the assassination bid. And now we see Kamala Harris take over from Biden and increase by a couple of percentage points his standing because of the focus is now the media is on her. So that indicates that there isn't, the voters are still reasonably undecided. There's at least a small fragment of them because the numbers are not great. I mean, the differences are very small. Trump is leading Harris on average by about 1.5 to 2 percentage points in the popular vote. Right. But that's virtually within the statistical margin of error. But as you know, in America, it has an unusual thing. The popular vote does not matter. It's the electoral college that decides the presidency. And the Republicans have always had an edge in the electoral college because of their disproportionate strength in these small states across the Midwest and the North and the South. So these states, if you look at them, then the picture is still advantage Trump, but by a degree that we're not completely certain about. So if you look at the standard 6 swing states in America right now, Nevada, Arizona, and Michigan, it more or less looks like Trump leading by about 4 to 5 percentage points, but against Harris. But a lot of it will depend on who Harris chooses as a vice presidential candidate. Because, for example, if she chooses a person from Michigan, then Michigan will probably swing into her camp immediately. But on the other hand, if you look at Georgia, Wisconsin, Pennsylvania, for example, those are states where it's literally 50-50 within the Trump leads, but within the statistical margin of error. The state of North Carolina, nobody knows because nobody has done a poll of Trump versus Harris before in that state. And so we'd have to see what happens. But you'll notice that the three top candidates for the vice presidential position that Harris is supposedly looking at are all white males from swing states. So she's very clearly trying to balance her ticket because she knows that she has to bring these swing states. She has to bring at least 2 or 3 of them on board, or otherwise the electoral college is Trump's.
Fair enough. Let me go across to Ambassador Manju Seth at this point in time. Ambassador Seth, my point blank question to you is the narrative that has been set over the last few days. That is that could America actually have the first woman president? I remember in 2020, I was traveling through DC and Iowa through the primaries, and there was Elizabeth Warren, Nikki Haley, and many others that were being talked about. But the common American on the streets, especially in Iowa, told me that no, perhaps it's not time, or we will not vote for a woman. So my question to you, ma'am, is that has America entered that kind of a maturity as of now, where we actually see America actually electing a woman candidate?
And I think America is moving in that direction. I think biases and deep ingrained sort of prejudices are still very much prevalent across the world, including in America. So I think that is going to be a little factor against it. But I feel now with this, with the age debate and all the other issues that that are now entering into the presidential debate, including migration, including immigration, and as very rightly mentioned, she will have to cater in the swing states by Pramit that they have to be all white males, and I think that says because people, as you said, people on the streets are not very keen that a woman come in. But I think it is shifting overall, especially after the abortion bill. A lot of women are looking for women to be for a woman to be at the top, so that women's issues and the women's perspective is brought to bear on all decisions. And if you look at what Trump has been saying, he's against abortion, what the Republicans are saying. So I think all those factors will also play into this election. And of course, 4 months is a long time, but the chances are that now America appears to be moving or appears to be almost ready. I won't say fully ready for a woman president. And Nirmal, I think she seems to be the right.
Right. Fair enough. If I can take that to Nirmal. Nirmal, there's a lot of heated debate going on in the South Asians, in India, and of course back there in the US as well. Where do you think their loyalty really lies as of now? They've been traditionally Democrats, but could we see a shift really happening this time around? And particularly on J.D. Vance, how do you see his announcement really? Will that really swing the South Asian vote?
I don't think so. J.D. Vance, more than J.D. Vance, I think it's basically Trump.
Right.
And Trump, I mean, ever since the assassination attempt, as one of the panelists rightly pointed out, his numbers have gone up. But you'll have to look at Kamala now. Now the entire dynamic changes because Biden is out of the picture, Kamala has come into the picture. And to her advantage, there is one thing that will be to her advantage, because when you speak of the 6 swing states, there was a poll that came out stating that in these 6 swing states, that can completely swing the election either way. At the forefront of all the issues is abortion, and that is what Kamala has been focusing on. That could work in her advantage. Number 2, she's young, so she can lure in a lot of young voters. She's a woman. If she wins, it will be historic. So that can lure in a lot of women voters. And also, if you look at, if she picks the right VP for her, we spoke about white candidates as Obama did in 2008 and 12. He picked Biden, and similarly, Kamala would have a white male candidate preferably, and that would also gain her some votes. But on the flip side, the other side, unfortunately for Kamala, she's actually the VP of a bad presidency, unfortunately, because if you just purely look at the numbers, inflation, average inflation, when Trump left office, the average inflation was between 1.2 to 1.4%. Right now, it's 3.6%, thrice the inflation. If you look at gas prices, when Trump left, the gas prices were 2.2 per gallon. Now the gas prices, the average gas price is 3.6, going up to at least 4.7 in states like California. That's also double the gas price. If you look at the increase in national debt, the increase in national debt in the first 3 years of the Trump presidency was 3 trillion, and the increase in national debt in the first 3 years of Biden presidency was 12 trillion, 4 times. So people are aware of these facts. So it's a question of whether they'll go for, vote for social justice, whether they vote for the economy. The other thing is peace. Because if you look at Trump's presidency, in all 4 years of Trump presidency, we did not have wars. There were no disputes. But if you look at Biden's presidency, unfortunately, we have had the Ukraine-Russia war, where the U.S. supported Ukraine, stating that they are the victim. In the Israel-Palestine war, they have supported Israel, forgetting that they're the aggressor. And also, the China-Taiwan issue has cropped up. And so all of these things combined, I think, she'll have to answer these, and also illegal immigration. It's interesting to see how she will respond to questions about illegal immigration, because now the narrative has changed. I mean, before, 4 years back in the 2020 election, I've seen a lot of South Asian or Indian immigrants thinking that Trump was actually anti-immigration. Now they know for a fact that Trump is not anti-immigration, he's actually anti-illegal immigration. And for the people who went there waiting for 10, 12 years, going through the process, waiting in the lines, they know that immigration is a process, and they accept and understand what Trump is saying. So it'll be interesting to see how she navigates through those questions.
Absolutely. It'll be interesting to see whether they agree to debate each other and come out on their policies, really. Justin, what do you think on that? It's going to be a very interesting and perhaps a very bitter debate if that really happens. And how do you see this campaign really exciting the voters out there? It was a given when Biden had put out his nomination, but this time it seems that it's really going to be a bitter out there.
Yeah, for Kamala's campaign team has been successful in the past 48 hours. In fact, they've managed almost like $100 million in contribution and donations. So what we can clearly see is that Democratic Party is back in terms of from the setback they suffered during the first debate, where they were completely, caught off guard by Biden's situation, how he can be a perfect candidate for the party. So now they don't have that issue, but what they have right now, as he mentioned clearly, like first say the illegal immigration part, Kamala Harris was the person who was supposed to handle the border issues and all that, and on that front she has clearly not performed the kind of performance that Democratic Party wanted. There were challenges that they were facing. Republican Party exposed those challenges. So Kamala Harris is very clearly lined up for an interesting debate with Trump, and it remains to be seen what the focus that is going to be there is how she can't, because Trump was always focusing on the Biden's issues, health issues, so that kind of things have been taken off the plate. So how they re-energize themselves, bring back themselves to campaign against Kamala needs to be seen. But yes, clearly it's going to be a big clash and heated debate.
Well, I want to take that, the issue of campaign to Pramit. Pramit, how will Kamala Harris's campaign differ from Biden's? Or perhaps if you can compare Kamala's upcoming campaign with Biden's campaign last time around, do you think there will be same kind of enthusiasm, support down on ground for Kamala?
Well, I think one, you're looking at a campaign that is extremely foreshortened. I mean, we're only looking at 2 or 3 months in which she has to put together a campaign, because I wouldn't say she's unknown to a lot of voters, but she is unknown in the sense that they don't know what she stands for or how good she is. Because vice presidents, while they get a little bit of media coverage in America, are almost invisible to a large extent. And the social media portrayal of her, I think, is being generally negative. That basically she's a bit of an empty head, or doesn't say much that's important and doesn't have much policy interest. She definitely has no major successes as a vice president. She was asked to handle migration. She was asked to handle the Indo-Pacific. She was asked to handle a number of different things and didn't do a particularly a great job about them. But, vice president doesn't have much to do. So her game is in the next 4 months, I think, one, show that I'm capable to be, I'm able to be a president, because she hasn't had that much government experience. She was only a senator for a few years, actually. And that was pretty much it. Second, she will play up issues like abortion, because they are genuinely popular among swing voters, and especially among women voters, even Republican women.
Right.
This is a big issue. In the same way that Trump will play up migration, which I think is his strong point. And I think also she will position herself as a centrist to try to avoid being portrayed as a member of the sort of woke left. And she'll hit out at Trump really hard on the felony charges, that this is a president. Do you really want to have a president who's a convicted felon, who should be in jail as a president? And that's going to be the big things, I think, in the swing states in particular, where you have a fairly disproportionate number of independent voters or genuine conservative Republicans, who are the ones who don't necessarily care much for Trump, but who would have preferred if you were a more traditional Republican candidate.
Ambassador Seth, if I can take that forward, issues like abortion rights, issues like insurance coverage, and perhaps the biggest of all, healthcare, are perhaps very important, pragmatic, and polarizing issues in this particular campaign. And as Pramit put initially in his initial remarks, that the contest is very interesting now. Kamala Harris, as of now, is just perhaps 2 points ahead of Trump. Will this be a very tightly and closely contested election? And which are the factors that will be pivotal in the next 6 months?
As you mentioned, yes, all these issues will be very important during the campaign, and she needs to, of course, put her act together and get all the issues and her views on all these issues very clear. And this contest is going to be a very keenly fought one. But yes, a great point in her favor is that she has had a very good record, a professional record, whereas I think President Trump has been convicted. He has been charged with state secret, state secrets being revealed, etc., or having them in his home, and unauthorized kind of work that he did in his official capacity as well in his unofficial capacity, all the allegations of his misconducts, personal misconduct. And I think all those issues she will highlight, and I think they need to be highlighted because a president's conduct is also important. I mean, his work-wise, whatever it is, but I think it is important for him to be above and being compliant with the law. And having been convicted, I think, he will be at a disadvantage as compared to her. And she's an unknown person in the current campaign, in the sense that her policies on many issues are still not very widely known. And I think she'll have to work on those and present those. And I think it'll be a keenly contested election. But it'll be a good thing for America to face all these issues that have been, sort of agitating the minds of everybody, including the wars. She'll have to take a good decision on that. The Democrats have been supporting these wars, but I think they also need to think about finding solutions to both the wars. And I think that, I feel, will be a perspective that a positive perspective that she will bring to the table to find a solution. That's my view. And she would, I think, be able to address these issues, because the Trump campaign has been saying that these wars should end immediately. As soon as I come, I will end them. So she needs to have her strategy in place to see how to find a solution and end these wars, which have been taxing for the whole world, but also for the American people.
Well, Kamala Harris has to have a strategy in place. And apart from that, of course, a lot of work to do. But last word to Nirmal. Trump has had a lot of nasty things to say about Kamala. How do you think he would be preparing as of now? Do you see any kind of surprises in store over the next few weeks?
No, I think it would be, Trump would always be himself. I think he'll throw a lot of insults, including the fact that she was the first presidential nominee to pull out of the race in 2020. She did not get many votes. She wasn't that popular. That's one. He would also bring forward the fact that even when she became the chief prosecutor of California, she won by 1 point, and he would bring that up. He would definitely bring up the fact that she was, reasonably inactive vice president, and that she's not aware of what's happening in the border, that she has not given a solution in terms of what's going on with the wars. So he will bring up a lot of those insults as usual. But the good thing about Kamala compared to Biden is that she was a prosecutor. On the other hand, Trump was almost executed. So the difference is she has the power. She has the power in debates to put him in a spot. I believe if you notice the debate between her and Mike Pence, the last time she did perform well, but Trump is a different beast altogether when it comes to debates. So it'll be interesting to see. He will throw a lot of insults. Kamala will definitely be able to defend. That is what I think. So it'll be a 50-50 contest. Let's see.
It will be a 50-50 contest. Thank you all for joining us on the News9 Plus show. It will be an interesting but certainly a bitter contest up ahead between Kamala Harris and Donald Trump. Keep watching the News9 Plus show. Thank you.